Joshua Fisher, Alexander Tosopoulos, the Charity Stripe, Believe Network, Aaron Johnson of Palace of Pistons. Joining us once again. We didn't think we'd see him again, but here he is. They go and get what? First of all, Shams, Woj, everyone tweeting, the rumors. No one had any idea what was going on. Everyone was in a blender, a lot of brains, a lot of ice in that blender. And here we are. The dust has settled. Jalen Duren out of Memphis, a guy I really enjoy, is going to Detroit. What does this mean for the possible Ayton move that people have been anticipating? How do you feel about the pick and him as a prospect?
Yeah, well, first off, my phone was going crazy with people wondering if the Pistons were going to trade Ivy as part of the deal for Duren because
that's what I thought was going to happen because Kemba's involved there somehow.
Yeah. So there were some reports that New York really wanted Ivy. They were still trying to get him even after the pick had been cemented by Detroit, but the Pistons come away with Jalen Duren. They essentially give up the 2025 pick that they acquired in the Jeremy Grant trade on Wednesday, and that's really it when you look at how the deal breaks down. Yes, they had to take back Kemba Walker, but for a team that has $40 million of cap space, buying him out and having to pay him $3 million a year for the next 3 seasons really isn't that big of a deal. We've seen that Troy Weaver is willing to hold on to dead cap and does so here to get a guy that is really an insurance piece if they aren't able to go after DeAndre Ayton and complete a sign-and trade with the Phoenix Suns. But even if they went out and got Ayton, Duren is a very exciting player, very, very athletic, fits the mold of what Detroit needed to accomplish in the draft. Get athleticism, get size. They did that here. He can run the pick and roll. He's an interior defender. Detroit needed more interior defense outside of Isaiah Stewart, whose future with Detroit now maybe comes into jeopardy a little bit, especially if they still want to go after DeAndre Ayton. But a very good signing for Detroit. This was a guy that came on later in his freshman season, as we tend to see, had some big performances in the conference tournament and the March Madness tournament. So really, really like this pick, really like the value for Detroit in what they gave up to get him.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like you can play Isaiah Stewart and Duren on the court a lot together, just based off of what his skill set is. But not Edie. I got ahead of myself there. Ivy is a guy who's played with some bigs, but not a big of the caliber of Jalen Duren. And now you have this young core, right? You have Cade Cunningham, you have Ivy, you have Duren, and this is a foundation that you can build a franchise on. And I think that if you're in Detroit, Troy Weaver, you got to tip your cap to him. If it's Josh's hat, you got to tip your 2004 Pistons championship hat to him. This is an impressive core to build off of. And to me, I look at the Rockets and what they're doing. That's great. I like the Pistons better. I expect Cade Cunningham to make a huge leap this coming season. I wouldn't be surprised if people are considering him a top 25 player at the end of the year. I know that's high praise, but he had a fantastic rookie season. And that, with him being the cornerstone, that takes the pressure off of Duren as far as what he needs to do from an offensive standpoint. And he can do what he does best, which is exactly what you talked about. Mop up on the glass, catch lobs, and protect the rim. And it's a great fit.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think one more thing to just add to that is you talked about the core of Cunningham and Ivy and Duren, who they had. And then you still have a guy like Sadiq Bey who showed some really nice flashes in year 2 and the cap space. Like now if they don't go get DeAndre Ayton, they can fill that spot at the 4 with Miles Bridges, or they have a ton of cap space to add some higher level role players. The Pistons tonight really set themselves up for an exciting offseason where they can kind of round out a roster where if Cade Cunningham does take that jump to a top 25 player, as you expect, this is a team that might compete for a play-in spot, a 6 to 8 range in the Eastern Conference if things go well.
Okay, sure, maybe. Or we're talking about them. Nothing against Bridges, because I think Bridges is a really good player. And I think Ayton's a really, really, really good player. I don't know if he's an all-star, but I think he's a really strong player. Or they can wait on the cap. It may not be New York, but Detroit is still a basketball city, and it still means a lot to the league, and it'll mean a lot to the city and like the longevity of someone's career if someone can bring a championship back to Detroit. It is a winning franchise for all intents and purposes, at least in my eyes. And I don't know if Cade makes that jump to top 25 yet, but he has that potential. Ivy's a guy that can be a stud, and now the pressure's off him and his career because as a ball handling guard, because you have Cade there. And maybe you do have the pieces to go and package for DeAndre Ayton with Killian Hayes and with Isaiah Stewart. Maybe that's how you go and get DeAndre Ayton. You'd start there with the negotiations with the Suns, who would want some depth and want some youth.
Not a bad plan. It's not a bad plan. I think, either way, there's some more moves coming for the Pistons this offseason with the cap space and a lot of centers on the roster. There's some more stuff coming.
Yeah, well, going from a football city to a basketball city, am I right? Detroit. All right, Johnson, thank you so much for joining us, brother. Appreciate you having you on. Go check out Palace of Pistons, everybody.
No doubt, guys.